Just a week ago today, 4 more bodies were discovered in a connected series of murders that now numbers at least 10.
I put one girl in the trunk and one in the back seat and stabbed both of them to death. Later that night, I cut both their heads off.
The FBI estimates in the United States alone at any given time there are 25 to 50 active serial killers. Now, imagine across the world. At 6 feet 9 inches and with an IQ of 145, Ed Kemper was an intimidating killer in every sense of the word. Kemper's murderous impulses can be traced back to his childhood, where he presented troubling behavior in a family ill-equipped to deal with his problems. His father, Edmund Emil Kemper II, was a World War II veteran in a loveless and damaging marriage with his mother, Clarnell Elizabeth Kemper. Clarnell was an alcoholic, possibly suffering from borderline personality disorder. The older Kemper, who had worked on nuclear bomb tests in the Pacific, once said that suicide missions in wartime and the later atomic bomb testings were nothing compared to living with Clarnell. She would berate her husband for what she perceived as his menial job and refused to coddle her son for fear that it would, quote, turn him gay, unquote. At the same time, Kemper began to display dark fantasies relating to sexuality and death. He would decapitate his sister's dolls in elaborate rites and even stalked his second-grade teacher outside her house carrying his father's bayonet. At the ripe old age of 10, he killed his family's pet cat, and at the age of 13, he killed another, this time keeping pieces of the animal in his closet until his mother found them. In 1957, Kemper's father left the family, leaving him in the company of just his mother and 2 sisters. His mother feared him, who he already stood at 6'4" at the age of 15, so she made him sleep in a locked basement for fear that he would harm his sisters. She would regularly berate him and insult him, telling the boy that no woman would ever love him. So at the age of 14, Kemper ran away from his mother's house to live with his father in California. However, his father had remarried and sent Kemper to live with his grandparents on their ranch. There, Kemper transferred much of his rage for his parents towards these, his new stewards. After getting into an argument with his grandmother, Kemper shot her in the head with his grandfather's .22 caliber rifle. He then killed his grandfather as he was walking up the driveway towards the house. So according to Kemper, he would not have to find out his wife was dead. Kemper then turned himself into the police after calling his mother and asking her what he should do. His first victims were Mary Ann Pesci and Anita Luchessa, 2 Fresno State students who he encountered while driving around Berkeley, California. Kemper brought the women to a wooded area nearby where he originally intended to rape them, but panicked and ended up stabbing and choking the 2 women to death. He then stuffed their bodies in the trunk and drove over to his house in Elmira, where he was living at the time, and on the way, a police officer stopped him for a broken taillight, but did not search the car. Once home, Kemper raped the bodies before dismembering them, placing the pieces of the bodies in plastic bags and disposing of them in a ravine near Loma Prieta Mountain. Kemper continued this formula of murder on his next victim, 15-year-old Korean dance student Aiko Koo. During this encounter, Kemper accidentally locked himself out of his car, but was able to persuade Koo to let him back in. By early 1973, Kemper had run out of funds and moved back in with his mother at her home in the University of California, Santa Cruz campus. There he continued his killings, murdering 3 more college students he picked up around the campus. He even buried one of the dismembered heads of his victims in his mother's garden and left it facing upward toward her bedroom. According to him, he did this because his mother always wanted people to look up to her. And then, on April 20th, 1973, Kemper's murders reached their natural culmination when he bludgeoned his mother to death with a claw hammer while she slept in her bed. Kemper then decapitated her and raped her severed head before placing it on a shelf and using it as a dartboard. He cut out her tongue and larynx and placed them in the garbage disposal. Kemper then invited his mother's best friend over to the house, and before murdering her and stealing her car, he drove to Colorado, but after not hearing any news of the murders, ended up calling the police from a phone booth to confess to murdering his mother. The police did not take the call seriously, prompting Kemper to admit to all of the murders he had committed to get their attention. When asked why he turned himself in, Kemper said that the original purpose was gone. I just said to hell with it and called it all off. He was arrested and convicted of 8 counts of first-degree murder. Kemper attempted suicide twice and even requested the death penalty, but failed on all counts and was given 7 consecutive life sentences. He's imprisoned at the California Medical Facility alongside Herbert Mullen and Charles Manson, where he still resides to this day. While in prison, Kemper willingly participated in a number of interviews from reporters and law enforcement, and is detailed in the Netflix original Mindhunters. Edmund Kemper's testimony as to his state of mind during his murders was integral to law enforcement's understanding of the mind of a serial killer.
So he's testing himself, practicing.
I'm picking up young women, and I'm going a little bit farther each time. It's a daring kind of a thing. I'm driving along. We go to a vulnerable place where there aren't people watching, where I could act out, and I say, no, I can't. And this craving, this awful, raging, eating feeling inside. I could feel it consuming my insides, this fantastic passion. It was like drugs. It was like alcohol. A little isn't enough. At first it is. And as you adjust to that psychologically and physically, you take more and more and more. It's the same process. So it finally came down to the thing of, do I dare bring this gun out? Already realizing if that gun comes out, something has to happen.